Welcome to the Open Mic podcast show with Mike Midgley.
Hey, and welcome to Cast Up episode 7. Today we are delighted to be out in Spain, in Javea, Spain, with Marc P. Summers at Information Street. And episode 7 is going to all be about Infusionsoft, powering small business to success, a certified partner's view. So I'm really excited to be joined by, a phenomenal wealth of talent from some of the most influential and successful people in the Infusionsoft certified partner community, as well as joined by Infusionsoft themselves. So for the audience of entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs, whether you're just getting started with Infusionsoft or you're looking to become a customer of Infusionsoft, this is an absolute must listen. There's no bias to anything here, it's just Infusionsoft demonstrating its power, demonstrating its ability. So without further ado, I'd really like to sort of open up and super excited to be hosting this live in Spain. And Marc P. Summers at Information Street, welcome to the show, it's great to have you on there.
It's awesome to be here.
Fantastic. We're also joined by Ashley Marshall from a company called Jumpworks based in the West Midlands. Ashley, it's awesome to be out here in Spain with you.
It's absolutely brilliant, having a great time.
Fantastic. Peter Daly, Dickson, good friend of mine. Great to be here. Oh, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I'm looking forward to the input that you can put in for also a different perspective of the integration side with Infusionsoft.
Cool.
And the longest air miles traveller for the session today, Lindsey Kokosh, Infusionsoft, straight from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the show, Lindsey. It's great to have you on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's worth the travels. So, as Marc P. Summers would like to say, it's worth the miles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just to give you a little bit of an intro of what you can expect from this show, slightly different from what we've done on the interviews for the regular listeners of the show. This is more of an open panel and a question, and as I say, it's going to concentrate heavily around Infusionsoft, and really focusing on to get the show started, how Infusionsoft is impacting the lives and providing a positive environment for small business owners, Lindsey. And maybe you could just open with that and give us a perspective, from the Infusionsoft point of view, and share with the audience, how awesome Infusionsoft is and how it's impacting the lives of small business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined Infusionsoft roughly about 2 years ago, and it was a major transformation in my life. One thing that really keeps me excited every day to work for Infusionsoft is really that focus around small businesses. So as you all know here in the room, our purpose is to help small businesses succeed. And that's what we're doing every day, not only with the software, but some of the things that we're putting in place to support the software. So if you look at a lot of what Infusionsoft has done over time is not only are we an all-in-one sales and marketing solution for small businesses, but we've really looked deeper to see how can we have a community, whether it's certified partners who are small businesses themselves, they understand the pains and the challenges, and they're out there in the local communities with customers of Infusionsoft to really understand how that can impact their business. But we've also, over the last couple of years, realized that we need to do some additional things. So one thing that we've launched over the last, I would say, year or so is our small business success method. And it's a really impactful way to look at strategy and how we can start to uncover just challenges in small businesses. And we have lifecycle marketing. It's been part of the Infusionsoft brand for a long time. But how do we extend that, and how do we really get businesses to see past, how do I just put marketing together, but how do I actually look at my business and pick it apart in all the things that we need to do to be more systematic?
So just for the audience who maybe have not heard of Small Business Success Method, did you just sort of give us a sort of plotted summary on that? You mentioned about the strategy side and getting to look at it, but if you just break it down into a couple of areas for us so the audience can sort of get a better understanding of that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So Small Business Success Method has quite a few parts, but I'll go through some of the main components with you. First, it starts really with, we call it a growth plan. It's really helping a customer be more aware of how they're running their business. And that breaks down into a couple of things. One is we really try to get people to look at a core product offering. People may have 25 products within their business, but when we're taking people down a journey, a customer journey, and getting them to see the value of buying from us as a business, we really need to understand what product we want them take part of,
Yep.
and it's based on their preferences. So we try to pull out something that we call the core product offering. We also know in marketing, customer avatar or who your true audience is. That's a really important component. And I think early on we knew that in the back of our minds, but we weren't pulling that out of our customers and asking them to go pretty deep into understanding who these people are, what they like to do, where they're hanging out, if there's any other demographic information about them. So we're pulling out questions like that and asking them their unique selling proposition. And I could go on all day, but then what we do is we actually take some components of what we call lifecycle marketing and we break it out, and we're really looking at how are they currently doing things? So how are they attracting leads? How are they capturing those leads? How are they working people through their sales and marketing process? And then how are they making it an amazing experience for their prospects and their customers? So it brings it all back together and not just a sales and marketing campaign or process, but also just making their business better in general.
And it helps them focus, I understand, to the key areas, whether that's follow-up, acquiring leads, fixing parts of the business that, maybe they know they've got to do, but haven't got a structure to put it in place to really bring it together and sort of get the power of Infusionsoft. And of course, Infusionsoft's going to deliver that out and make it a lot easier and help them grow the sales and get better results.
Yeah, and I think one of the really cool things about the small business success method, we all think of Infusionsoft as sales and marketing, but there's so much more to the business that Infusionsoft can help with, and that's internal experiences, automating simple 15-minute tasks throughout the day for your employees, for other outside influences on the business, and how do we automate certain processes that are taking up that time for a small business, which is really critical because if you're running a business either as one person or 7 people, every 15 minutes can really be a huge impact.
Yeah, because you don't always have the resources as a small business, as a big team, so saving time and getting focused is there.
Yeah.
But thanks for that intro, Lindsey, and we appreciate you being on the show, and we'll no doubt pick them to some more of the the Infusionsoft core values as we get through the show. I just want to sort of push something over to you, Marc, please, if we could. Now, for the audience, Marc P. Summers is the sort of founder of Information Street, is a sort of global Infusionsoft partner, top sales partner for Infusionsoft for over 6 years, a Champions Club winner for 3 years, and Marc's insights really to not just what's happening in the UK, but as more of a global influences, is seriously invaluable to the show. So thank you. And I just want to sort of push this out to you, Marc, just to sort of start with. And I know you're sort of big on the the why, and I know you do these sort of spin sessions or these mastermind sessions, and I just really like for you to sort of share with the audience, maybe existing Infusionsoft users or ones who are looking to get involved with it. What do you see, not just only from our base here in Spain, but in the States, Far East and things like that? What are you seeing that Infusionsoft's doing regularly and consistently that builds on obviously what Lindsey says and the results that Information Street is getting for its clients? And I just wonder if you could open that up a little bit.
Sure. Well, Infusionsoft have always been dedicated to small business success, and that's been paramount in every process that they've put in place over the last 10 to 15 years. And with that, it's really good to see how they're internationalizing the app and putting places in for international work as well. But what's really important is where they're looking at the pains, and that's what I do with my mastermind is look at the situation, the current situation, the problems, the implications and the needs of those clients to make sure that we're implementing the right systems for the business. Because sure, you can bang a screw into a piece of wood with a big mallet, but it's not going to be a very neat job. It's better to use the right tool, a screwdriver, and to get it driven in properly. And with Infusionsoft, it is a big tool. You wouldn't go out and buy a Ferrari and drive it off the forecourt without some training of what is that car capable of, and how to control it, and that's where a good partners like us in the room are able to really make sure that the piece of software does what we say it's going to do.
Absolutely. So it builds upon this pains thing, Marc, and again, I like us all. We all work with small businesses, and sometimes they're so sort of close to the wood to the trees example that, you know, they know that they're spending too many hours at the business, they know that they're maybe not making enough money, but they're not always quite sure about, you know, how to sort of address that. So I just wondered if I could just push you a little bit harder on that, to when you identify a pain with a small business in one of your masterminds, maybe talk about how you then sort of align Infusionsoft with that, and, you know, maybe is it focused on the starting point, or how you connect that, so you get the admission from the small business entrepreneur that he or she is in that situation. How do you actually sort of get that transfer of ownership and get Infusionsoft positioned to make sure that we get those benefits working?
So once you've identified the pain, the best way of working out how important that pain is to fix is to look at the implications of not fixing that pain. And it could be anything from we don't have enough leads. Well, the implication of not having enough leads is the sales guy has a stressed out period at the end of every month because he's not meeting his targets and he doesn't know if he's going to have a job next month or whatever. Or if it's a solopreneur, then he's like, am I going to be able to feed the family next month? Or am I going to have to go and get one of those scary JOBs next month? Because, you know, it's really important. So the pain, obviously it's important to prioritize those pains, and we do that by looking at the implication of not removing that pain from the business, and from that then the need of Infusionsoft or integrations like Pete's and so forth, and how to facilitate that. Lindsey's great point of if you can save those 15-minute tasks and turn them into a 3-second task, well, you just do 4 of those and you've turned an hour into 12 seconds, you know, and that's powerful. You save an hour, which is minimum, you know, and that's super powerful in any business.
It is.
I think one of the other things about working with a partner, Marc alluded to it earlier, rather than doing it yourself, is that one of the ways I think Infusionsoft has makes such a big difference in businesses is it forces the business owner to think about their business in a way that they've maybe not had to before, and it's often easier for that new thinking to be guided by somebody who isn't at the coalface, as you mentioned, who's looking at that client's business from a new perspective, a new angle, perhaps asking questions which the business owner just takes for granted. So working with a partner to implement Infusionsoft, typically people get much better results much quicker because they're doing that critical thinking and getting help with that critical thinking that's really going to make the difference.
I was saying the other thing is, of course, you start to work with partners using it every day with lots of different customers, and there's a broad range of things that you can do to make it work quicker with other integrations. And I think that's the beauty of Infusionsoft, is its ability to be the glue that holds everything together.
That's right.
Absolutely. And Ashley, I know, just as an introduction here, and I'll try to slot these in as we go along just to sort of spread it out, but Ashley's the founder of JumpWorks in Birmingham, is obviously Infusionsoft user group host as well, and you know, sort of partner for 4 years, really focused on that small business success as well, and as a platinum partner for Infusionsoft. You know, he's got such an objective view, and as part of the user groups, Ashley, just talk to me about, you know, it's more than just software, isn't it, Infusionsoft? And Lindsey, you touched on the community as well, and what we've all sort of got there. And for people looking at the outside in on Infusionsoft, could you just build up a little bit for me about the community, that when you buy the software, when you come in, what type of, not just paid, but free resources that are available, and that community, how we stick together? And, you know, I'd love to get your view on that.
Well, absolutely. I think what's really interesting is seeing things like a podcast coming up, and there's lots of really good information. So I think when people use things like Infusionsoft, it's as much about the way you think about your business and how you think about the processes you're going to implement, and sharing those things from other people in the community through user groups. We run the user groups, and they often turn into, you know, Infusionsoft is kind of there, but it's not about Infusionsoft really. It's not about features and buttons, although we review and keep people up to date on those. But the biggest takeaway people get from them is the ability to dream a bigger dream, or come up with things in their business that they could do that they hadn't even thought about through it. It's almost like a mini mastermind in superb marketing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's all about the direct response, attracting leads, getting new customers or getting new prospects into a funnel, and sometimes it's about the mundane, how do I fulfill stuff out of my postage room, and making sure that that's done reliably every time the same way and systematically, and pulling a team into being able to do it, and having a team using Infusionsoft is actually really kind of interesting. And, for me, that's really where Macanta fits in and what you do, which is going to be bringing the team into Infusionsoft who use it occasionally and giving them smart workflows and processes that make it better.
The other thing, if I can say, is that as a small business owner, even if you have a team, it can be quite lonely, because there are things going on in your business that you perhaps might not want to share with employees. So the great thing about the Infusionsoft community is that it's full of small business owners who are successful, are experiencing success, are on their way to experiencing success, but they're driven, they're ambitious, they're growth oriented. It's really the community. I first came across Infusionsoft in 2009, and here I am in 2017, and one of the things that has kept me kind of in the orbit of Infusionsoft is the sheer quality of the people that are in the community and the ecosystem, both partners and the business owners that are kind of making the jump and making that commitment to grow their business with Infusionsoft in the mix. So if you're if you listen to the podcast and you're in any way kind of feeling that you want to connect with like-minded business owners that can help you get the results that you're looking for in your business, then you could do a lot worse than the Infusionsoft community.
Yeah, it's a great shout, Pete. It's a great shout. Ashley?
I was just going to say, that is where those user groups stand, and the friendships and the relationships that people get. Not necessarily working companions, but people that they can phone up in the middle of the month and say, hey, I've got this idea, do you think it would work? And I would say that is one of the things that is really different about Infusionsoft level of playing field, if you like, the right level of business are using Infusionsoft because they have an aspiration to grow. And I know there's some sweet spots, if you like, of where it's appropriate, but I often find it's even appropriate for very small businesses if they've got an aspiration to grow in the year. Not if they may pay a little bit more than they might for another technical solution, but the people that they get involved with and the thinking that they get involved with and the training and the partner community they're involved into, it allows them to rocket their business.
Fantastic. And just for the audience's benefit, and predominantly we have a UK entrepreneur sort of listener base. But Lindsey and Marc, Marc from a global sort of business owner, and Lindsey from a US sort of domestic market from an Infusionsoft stand. That's not just a UK benefit. There's a lot of sort of cross-border migration and benefit where UK partners, as well as UK users, are also working with the States or Germany or Estonia or whatever. Could you maybe just share about how you see that sort of collaboration, what Ashley was covering there, not only at user level but at partner level, working cross-border as well?
The nice thing about, as Pete was saying, is the community is there to help everybody, and you might be talking at a local networking meeting about a problem with 16 other businesses, and they haven't experienced that. But with the global network of Infusionsoft users and that are like-minded and everything else, well, now you can get a problem shared with someone in Melbourne who's going through the same situation, and instantly you've got a solution, or just you've put your two heads together to find that answer. So you have a global community of like-minded people that are helping you out. That's paramount. But also those partners, the global partners, are also fixing those problems that maybe are only happening by those partners that are doing, those small businesses that are doing more global business and so forth. Multi-currency, different currencies and so forth has been something we've seen an increase in requirement for UK businesses, for example, now wanting to take US dollars as well. And what with Brexit, and I probably don't want to get too political in this podcast, but the exchange rates jumping up and down. This is something that, as a small business owner, you don't want to solve that problem yourself. What should I be doing? Should I be charging in dollars as well as pounds, or euros as well as pounds? And so forth. So having that community, both UK based and globally, where you can really throw ideas out there and get 10 opinions back.
Yeah, I think the important thing to remember as well is that business is business. And although as a small business owner, it can be easy to think, my business is different, I'm unique, I'm special. The reality is that when you get out there and you talk to small business owners and you really dig deep into their businesses, ultimately business is business. And as Marc quite rightly pointed out, I've got as much to learn and opportunity to grow my business from talking to a small business owner in Melbourne as I do from talking to another small business owner in Coventry. And it may be that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come when you see something that is working somewhere else and applying it to yourself. For example, drive-throughs first started in banking, and then a restaurant owner saw that and thought that'd be a good thing, and then now you can get drive-through coffee now on the motorway.
And just building on that community, Lindsey, I'd love you to share, about the events that Infusionsoft put on as part of that, such as Icon and things like that. Obviously, it's fairly timely for any listeners. End of April, mark it out of your diary. It's a great effort, and a small show going off in Phoenix, Arizona. There's a joke to the side. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about, the sort of some of those paid events that they come out and experience that, not just the speakers and everything like that. But talk about Icon for us.
So, can I start with something just a little bit different?
Of course.
The global span of Infusionsoft and our partner network. I think looking at the European Partner Growth Conference that we just held here in Javea, Spain, it shows really that community aspect of bringing people together. So Marc and the Information Street team opening up their office, having partners from not only the UK but also other parts of Europe. And let's be honest, our partners are somewhat competing when it comes to services through Infusionsoft, but the really cool part is there are people out there who are best served by different types of partners, and partners are recognizing that and really building their own community. And the thing that I love is seeing that openness to say, hey, I'm not the expert in this, so if you come to me for a certain service and I know it's right for me, that's great, but I'm also going to help you in different aspects of your business by understanding who these other partners are and what that global community looks like. Excellent. So even little local events that we do like this, I think are really important to the community. But on a broader scope for customers and looking at Infusionsoft and how it really brings people together in the small business community, as you mentioned, Icon is coming up at the end of April this year in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's always a fun event. But it really is bringing the world together and allowing small business owners to get those different aspects. So if something's happening in an industry or in a different country, you'll see people who've never met someone who's 5,000 miles away, and they become lifelong friends and business mentors to each other. So Icon is, I think last year, and don't quote me on the numbers, but it's growing every year, and it was roughly 3,000 plus people coming to Phoenix, Arizona from all around the globe. And a large majority are from outside the US. So it's really cool to see. And our partners are a big part of that too. So we have a separate event for partners. It's actually later in the year. It's called PartnerCon. And that's really for our partners to work on their business, to kind of up their game. But I love the fact that most of our partners come to Icon as well, because they're offering their expertise to those small business owners who are really just sometimes dipping their toes in Infusionsoft for the first time, or they're people who've been with Infusionsoft for 10 years. Our partners have, by the joint experience, probably have 50 years of experience. So they're able to provide a lot of insight during that event.
That's great insights, thanks. And Pete, just to sort of give you a bit of a delayed introduction, but Pete Daly Dickson, the founder of Mercamta, and this little sort of section of the podcast, guys, if we could really open up for the audience, we'll talk a little bit of features and benefits just to make sure if people are looking at Infusionsoft for the first time. But also, Marc touched on it earlier about all the other things that sort of sit outside of that, and Pete Daly Dickson has got one of the most exciting sort of applications, add-ons, enhancements, not only for partners but for Infusionsoft users. And Mercamta is literally a front-end application interface that simplifies it and offers a whole host of other features and benefits to users. So introducing Pete, Daly Dickson, could you maybe talk about how you got involved, but not only as a certified partner, but how you are now developing those integrations to, not only to serve customers and users, but also enhance everything that Infusionsoft does as well.
Sure. So as I said earlier, I first started using Infusionsoft in 2009. I was employed at the time, and I put it into the business that I was working in. Eventually ended up leaving there in 2011. That's when I first certified as a consultant. And right from 2009, every time I've put Infusionsoft into a business, there's been some form of desire to simplify aspects of the front end, whether it be to create a series of forms just to make it easy to get data into Infusionsoft, or just perhaps create a portal for external users to be able to log in. And eventually got to a point where, if you're asked the same question enough times, you eventually think, well, maybe there's an opportunity to create something perhaps a little greater scale. So we, me and my development team, we put our heads together, and we created this thing called Macanta, and it's in a nutshell, and it's on the footer of every Macanta page, is that it's powered by Infusionsoft and simplified by Macanta. Yeah. So that day-to-day operation of getting stuff done with contacts, whether it be recording real-time information about contacts and contact notes, or making outbound phone calls to prospects and customers, and getting those calls recorded, completing internal forms just as part of the customer journey to keep that going forward. Well, wherever there is manual intervention, if you like, between an employee of a business and that business's contacts and clients, that work is going to be more productive and more effective. You get more done using Macanta as a front end to Infusionsoft than not. And I'm proud of what we've achieved as a team, and really excited to connect with other partners and to provide them a tool to help their clients become more effective and more productive users of Infusionsoft.
Yeah, it's certainly there. And actually, maybe you could, as a partner, I know obviously you're involved with Macanta as we are, Marc, maybe you could just share some of the experiences just to sort of get a different perspective. I'm a user, I'm looking at Infusionsoft, why would I use Macanta? And I asked you that specifically outside of Pete, because obviously I know you've got customers using that as we have. And maybe you could just share some of the benefits that the guys are getting as well.
Absolutely. I think the reason why we chose to use Macanta or we have is really where we've got things like an external telesales team function, where we don't want to kind of baffle them or train them because they churn fairly quickly in that role often. And using Macanta allows them to get stuff done quickly. It allows the automatic creation of tasks and notes and the recording, so that the business owner can listen in and coach those calls, for example. And I guess they can, now with features like them being able to send an email quickly that's been typed in because it's got human stuff in it. It's not just kicking off on automation and the risk of them choosing the wrong automation. There's a call, they've had a conversation about something, they can type a quick note that's relevant to the conversation. So even if there is some automation afterwards, there's a human element that kicks in at the beginning. So in that process, in that telemarketing, telesales operation, but then also for anybody in the team who's just dipping in and out occasionally, and you want to make sure that Infusionsoft is the centre of your contact place, so that people don't start keeping stuff on the mobile phones and stuff like that. Mobile works really well, mobile and stuff like that. So I think
that's fantastic.
That's my background.
And looking at Infusionsoft, guys, as a system, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into actually what it does, as I say, or help you understand better what it does if you're an existing user. Lindsey, we have a marketplace full of apps, from banking integrations, payment integrations, recording integrations, that loads and loads. And there's a big strong commitment, Lindsey, isn't there, from Infusionsoft to build, and grow that sort of external third-party integration market to sort of bolt onto Infusionsoft. So the Macanta example is not unique, I think is what I'm saying. It is in what it does as unique, but it's not unique that Infusionsoft can be made even better with all the creativity of third-party developers.
Yeah, I think the marketplace and our developer partners are really crucial to extending what Infusionsoft can do. And we get the question a lot of, why doesn't Infusionsoft just go develop this themselves? You know, you have a development team, you have this pretty robust system that already does quite a few things, but as you grow your solution and you add, you know, more capability to it, it makes it a little bit harder to be nimble when you need to make changes to it. So we feel like we have a really solid, robust system that includes, you know, the CRM component, the marketing automation. You know, we have e-commerce in it, although we have some apps that enhance that as well. And really the sales pipeline, and those are kind of our core areas that we focus on. But for things like Macanta, for example, there are things that are still challenges that we need an external app to come in and kind of assist with that. And if we were to try to do it ourselves, we would take away from the core development of our product. And you know, our commitment is trying to improve our product, you know, with what it exists. And so our developer partners are crucial in looking at those little nice to have extras. And sometimes they're not even nice to have, it's critical. You know, I know that even our direct inside team, we have some situations where they've recently used Macanta, and it actually made something that was completely impossible for a larger firm to be able to outsource and do some certain things with their team. They wouldn't have been able to use Infusionsoft just themselves. So Macanta adds to the use case.
So it adds, and you know, and like Macanta, like other apps, it adds to that sort of augmented solution to, you know, make it possible. And there is so many different sort of solutions out there, isn't there? So Pete, you know, just add on to that.
Yeah, the other thing on that is that the thing about the developer partners is that we are out, and I'm not saying that the developers in Infusionsoft are not in the real world, but we are out there working with clients who are using Infusionsoft day in, day out. So we see and have sight of issues of I don't call them problems, but challenges of using Infusionsoft in specific real world examples in a way possibly that the Infusionsoft development team don't see. And because we're there, we see it. And we can focus on that sort of specific problems. We can get those solutions developed quicker. Lindsey touched on the nimbleness of you know, the large organisation that Infusionsoft has become. We can create and iterate those solutions much quicker in the real world than the development team at Infusionsoft.
Great point.
I think there was a time, wasn't there, when we were looking for an all-in-one solution and trying to take something from the enterprise market, make it acceptable for small businesses. But what we've seen in the last 5 years probably is just the growth of best-of-breed stuff.
Yes.
So, you know, things like, I don't want Infusionsoft to be my accounting system as a small business, because that makes it really hard for me to adopt something new. I need best-of-breed things that I'll grow as a small business at a different rate with. I might put my accounting system in on day one. I might do my website on day two. I might do, or month two. You know, as I grow as a small business, I need to start putting different systems in, and we need this glue really, and that's why I think of Infusionsoft as the glue for everything. It becomes a beautiful way of integrating these small systems into a coherent, complete.
Yeah, and coming back around to a point that was made earlier, that one of the beauties of working with an Infusionsoft certified partner in that regard, looking specifically at best of breed, is that they will have because we're working with multiple clients across multiple industries, often, you know, say in Marc's case particularly, across multiple countries, you will get a much better idea of the right best of breed product for you in your industry at your particular stage of growth than you will do on your own. Sure, you could go and, you know, spend a couple of days researching online yourself,
or weeks or months.
Or weeks or months.
And there's no perfect system unless you're bespoking for your business, and then by the time you've built it, the business has changed.
It's out of date.
Yeah, that's how the banking industry is growing up, with huge, crazy systems that are unmanageable these days.
Marc, tell me from a global perspective, you know, we touched on there about the best of breed. It's a great point, Ashley, and obviously you're working how many countries are you sort of working and got representation in?
We have certified consultants in 8 different countries.
8 different countries. So just sort of maybe talk about some of the challenges or the benefits that Infusionsoft's working with those best of breeds, and maybe a couple of case studies if you could for common things like either accounting or sales or the CRM that Lindsey mentioned.
Well, just to backtrack a bit first, I mean, if Infusionsoft decided to put all of the different integrations that are in the marketplace into the app, we would have an app that was just so busy and confusing because you didn't need that certain niche area that they've now put in as a feature. And you're like, well, why do I need that part? And so it's actually beneficial to the app to have these add-ons and you plug in the bits you need.
Yeah.
You don't need air conditioning in a car in Antarctica. Or in Spain in February. So I think that's very important to have these partners that are experts in that particular niche or area to then add that power, that boost to the engine, to the glue, to whatever we're calling Infusionsoft. As far as from a global point of view, it's been very exciting working with small businesses all over the world and seeing the localization challenges that everybody has. I mean, we recently in the UK, for example, the worldwide VAT law that came in and finding solutions for that when people are selling downloads and software, etc., on a global base. In Singapore, they have grants for CRM and training, etc. And at the time, Infusionsoft couldn't take a Singapore dollar, and so getting over those challenges have been quite exciting to do, to then grow with the countries that are now sort of saying, well, small businesses should have CRM, so let's make it easy for them and put a grant in place so that they can then invest in an awesome system such as Infusionsoft.
Yeah, that's great.
So globally, it's exciting to see everybody coming together, and as you said earlier, the community, the partners working together. We're in a room of 30 odd partners this week over in Javea, and sure, we're competitors, but there's a large enough community of small businesses that need our help. A story that I tell often to our new partners is that there's something like 10 million small businesses in the US alone that are currently a good fit for Infusionsoft. Now, if 1% of those called US partners in the next month would be it would be a word that I can't say on a U-registered podcast, And similar in Europe, I don't have statistics for Europe and so forth, but if there's 10 million in the States, there's going to be another 10 million in Europe at least. We would be in a little bit of a situation. If 1% of those suddenly saw the light, and so please make sure this podcast isn't too popular because.
We could have an overflow ourselves, Lindsey.
Get in first because.
And that what Marc was just saying there speaks to an aspect of the community that I think is one of the things I find so attractive, is that there is an abundant mindset in the Infusionsoft community that it's not about the pie is this big and I'm Marc's competition, and if Marc has that amount of the pie, then that only leaves so much for me. It's like the pie is so big and getting ever bigger that there is more opportunity for more partners than ever now and ever will be.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to touch something on our relationship with the partner community. Like anything, when you sort of start in the community, you're sort of a little bit standoffish, wary because of that stereotypical thing, is this okay or not? Mm-hmm. Why do these people want to be my friends, type of thing? And that's sometimes the initial what we call sticker shock, like, what's going up there? But then as you get in and then you got a problem and people are just so keen to jump in and sort of help, and then you sort of stop asking why and start thinking, hey, how can I give back? And then that becomes it. And as a user of Infusionsoft, you're going to get that the same as well from partners, from users, and no expectation to sell you something. We're all busy people, we can all offer value. And just to wrap on that point, that type of collaboration over the last 24 or so months has meant that now we've got 4 ICPs and an ICC, but we only technically employ 2, so the other 2 what you were just picking up there, Peter, what would have been seen as competition, but are actually Alistair McWilliam, is working heavily with us, Damien Qualter's working with us, Chad's working with us, Jamie obviously, and now as a team we just all got experience and input and value that we can do, and then that solution that goes backed by the power of Infusionsoft makes sure that small businesses really got every chance of succeeding. And when you hear that banded around a lot, that we all buy into the Infusionsoft core values, we deliver on that we help small business succeeders, we generally are. We're not just looking to make a charge or sell you a system. We want to focus on a result and get you there, and I think that's something that's
and I think that is one of the main differentiators between Infusionsoft and other suppliers of marketing automation software. So, whether or not Infusionsoft created the market of marketing automation,
we did.
but it's neither here nor there, and certainly not really of any relevance to a potential user of Infusionsoft. But the fact that you could take any Infusionsoft employee, for that matter any Infusionsoft partner, and cut them anywhere, and you will see running through the middle small business success.
Yeah.
It is ultimately about the success of small business, and that passion, that drive, that commitment to helping small businesses succeed is what makes Infusionsoft different. It's not about the software. Lindsey said it right at the beginning. It's not just about the software. The software is a big part of it, but the software is just the tool. The fact is that everything about Infusionsoft and everything about an Infusionsoft certified partner is that we're committed to helping small businesses succeed.
That's a great shout, Pete. And there's a lot flying around in this podcast, and we always encourage you to take notes. But if you do need the transcript to this, you can head over to blog.thesuccessof.uk. There'll be a download here. We'll also be posting a video of this session, and also we'll be listing out the contributors, expertises, and details, the Facebook pages, the website. So there's also an online sort of partner community where users can go and search. Lindsey, isn't there, where if I've got a specific need, they can go to the marketplace, search partners, credentials, and maybe what expertise they've got to solve their problems at that time.
Yeah, it's basically our Infusionsoft marketplace. I believe it's marketplace.infusionsoft.com.
Yes. So marketplace.infusionsoft.com, yeah?
Yeah. And so we revamped it in the last couple of years, and we're really trying to find action plans and relation to what that person is looking for as far as success, what it means for their business. So just as Marc said, with all the add-ons, not everybody needs everything, but they have specific things that they're looking for based on if they're in a specific industry, if they're trying to solve a certain action, or if they're just looking for someone in a local area. And so it's a resource out there for our users. We like to think that Infusionsoft is this great technology, but if you don't have strategy and you don't have the things you need to put into the technology, you're not really going to go too far. And so that's really what the marketplace is about, is finding people like everyone sitting at this table who are really skilled certified partners, and then any add-on technologies that need to be introduced for that solution.
And you mentioned there as well, Lindsey, they can also download action plans. So if you're not quite ready to sort of work with a partner yet, maybe that's budget restricted, you're just not not quite sure, there's a lot of resources that they can actually download and work in their own environment and maybe get more knowledgeable before maybe either developing that themselves or looking for a partner.
Yeah, there's some. I've seen partners to even put some free items out there where they can request it, and it really is just finding that best fit. So there's action plans which can come in the form of a lot of different things, but it's really centered around not about the next campaign you can introduce or the next thing you can do with the technology, but what's the problem that you have and what's that solution that's going to make it work.
Fabulous. So just sort of moving into the sort of latter stages of the podcast here, just let's drill down a little bit of features and benefits. Two sort of sides to this, guys and girls. That is that we maybe have existing Infusionsoft users who are looking at the screen and thinking, hey, I didn't know it did that. And we've got people who are maybe sat there thinking, this Infusionsoft community sounds awesome, which it is, sort of for the bias there. I want to be part of that. So just tell me a little bit about the software. We've talked heavily about the results because, the software technically, as we've discussed, is just a tool at the end of the day, and as are the integrations like Peter McCanter and everything else in the marketplace. But, if we just sort of focus on that, Ashley, from your side, whether it's CRM or sales pipeline, what's your sort of key thing that you work with people on to get them started fast and get that benefit going as a software feature?
Yeah, that's really, really important. So I find that the best thing for me, I took a phrase that a friend of mine talked about once, which was this idea of pursue simple, get fancy later. And to me, that's everything. People try often to build the most crazy kind of campaigns up front, but it's actually, I was saying to somebody the other day that one of the examples I use, that when you talk about Infusionsoft, the first thing that somebody sometimes comes is says, right, I bought a plot of land and I want to build the most amazing roof on my plot of land. It's got slates, it's got copper gutter in it, it's amazing. And then they stand back at the end of the day, look at the beautiful roof and think, right, how am I going to live in there? And so for me, it's about how do we get started fast? You've got to think about the long-term life cycle of where you're going to be. And that really is about getting a cadence and a flow, a systemised way of communicating with customers. And after that, we'll build the beautiful roof. Yeah. The tactics versus strategy types.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's put some baseline in, let's make sure we communicate well with customers, prospects, and team alike in the most simple of campaigns, I'll be honest. But it's about making sure that you do the same things every time, you put those foundations in place to make it work.
Consistency.
And then later on we do the really good ninja stuff that Infusionsoft is capable to do. We're bolting into your specialist quoting tool because you're an electrician business even, or into a big ERP system because you're running a warehouse. Or whatever it might be, those are secondary to getting things started fast, because the number one thing that people often forget to do is that simple communicate with customers and prospects in a way that is good for you as a customer.
Fantastic, Ashley. So looking at marketing automation, start simple, pursue simple, get your processes understood offline before maybe getting them online, and then you can build up phase 2, phase 3. So it's a bit like go live, optimize, customize sort of strategy.
Get organised first.
Brilliant. Marc, from your perspective, as a feature in the you maybe get a new Infusionsoft user coming to Information Street, you've identified the gap, the pain. What's your favourite feature where you do really get them started fast and they're getting the ROI on Infusionsoft?
I think the campaign builder is definitely the nicest part, whether they're going to be using themselves to build their own campaigns, whether they're going to be importing simple campaigns from the marketplace, or whether they're going to be using a partner to map out and create their magic and so forth. I was with Infusionsoft before Campaign Builder and before the previous system to before Campaign Builder, and I enjoyed using those systems, but then when Campaign Builder came out, I was like, whoa!
That's the big leverage.
I was at Icon when they launched it, and I think there were a lot of excited people in many ways at that event, because Campaign Builder does mean that you can just drag and drop and double click. So if as a business owner you have an idea of what you want to produce and you're able to use a mouse and move the mouse on a table and learn double click, which is a bit like single click, just twice as many and twice as fast. And once you've conquered that, well, actually Campaign Builder is easy. And we do training sessions on how to use a mouse. So
not Infusionsoft.
Once they've learned that bit, the rest is actually easy with Campaign Builder.
And it's unique in the market. We've seen lots of others try with us, but I've never seen anything like them.
It's visual, and when you're working with a partner or any consultant, what they'll probably have is a big whiteboard, and they'll map out your process. And before, we used to map out processes in flowcharts and so forth. Well, in most cases now, we actually just map it out in Campaign Builder, and then we just add the content to it, and actually it's done. Because it's the same system. So Campaign Builder, by far, is my favourite feature. And then my favourite report is the accounts receivable report, which just shows how much money I'm due. but yeah, there were so many features. What I love, the main thing what I love about Infusionsoft is the three main modules: the CRM, the marketing, the e-commerce, and how they glue together with perfection. So the CRM is controlling the e-commerce and any upsells. You bought product A, here's product B, which you may be interested in, or you bought product A and product C. So you know really product B is a great bridge between those two. The marketing is connecting all with that, sending the right information to the right person at the right time, because the synergy between those three modules is in one system.
And it's like one of the earliest aims, isn't it, about it's the all-in-one small business sales and marketing solution. And that's a great point that Marc's done there, that, again, if you're looking at your dashboard at Infusionsoft, or you're just getting excited about joining the community, the CRM, we're getting your data segmented, so you've got customers or prospects, cold or warm. You may have, hey, these are customers of target for product A or product B. The segmentation ability for them to connect, as Marc said, into that marketing to get your message out there. So I always try and use a football analogy. I apologise for the non-football listeners out there, but if you're in my sort of home city, which is Liverpool, and we've got the Liverpool and Everton, if you're sending red mark, then you've got a problem. And I'm sure that's in the States, whether you've got different rivalries in football or baseball or whatever, and if you've got the right message to the right audience at the right time, so I'm sending red messages to Anfield and I'm sending blue messages to Goodison Park, then I'm going to get a better response, and that's the segmentation of the CRM to the marketing. And then ultimately, as Marc says with his receivables report, then when they're buying and they're connected to both shopping carts and individual order forms, you really have got a solution. And endorsing up what Ashley's point was, that gets you in the game. Gets you off the bench, gets you in the game with that, and then as your business transpires, it grows, you're open up for new opportunities. You can either start plugging in additional features, which there are so many in Infusionsoft that you may not even use to start with, or start adding in out of the marketplace, like the Mercantas or the Zapiers plus this is all.
I don't know if you're going to ask me, my favourite thing about Infusionsoft and being a developer partner, it's no surprise that it's going to be a third-party add-on. I'd obviously say Mercanta, but we've already talked about that. But mine is WordPress plugin. iNumber 360 or Memberian does similar features. It basically allows you to extend Infusionsoft to your website. So your customers and prospects even can go to your website, and you can change you can change what they see depending on what they've done or not done and how they're being tagged in Infusionsoft. So somebody who's a prospect goes to your website, they see one lot of information. For somebody who's a client and perhaps spent a certain amount of money with you, they see something else. So it kind of takes the power of Infusionsoft and all the segmentation that you talked about, Mike, and allows you to dynamically change what people going to your website see.
Phenomenal.
It is.
And it's kind of nice in a sense that those things are being done in a layered approach. You don't have to take care of the all-in-one website and CRM and everything solution on day one. You can build and extend.
Yeah. That would probably be month 3 or month 4, I'd say, in Ashley's Pursue Simple. Yeah, it's definitely down.
But it's possible,
line.
And that's the beauty of it. You're not going to hit brick walls of integration problems. When you reach that point, you need to find a new best of breed thing. It will work.
It's Lego.
It is totally Lego. It's like building blocks.
So just building on what Pete said there about extending Infusionsoft into your website as a membership site. Again, some guys out there and girls, you'll be up on that. Others who are just understanding that. If you're selling information, information marketers, you could be a business coach, you could be a dog trainer, a physiotherapy space, the ability to sort of get your content into, whether it's video courses, manual downloads, weekly webinars, and get it put in behind a gated community where you can actually physically charge X pounds or give some free content away. I mean, here at the Successor, we use Memberian, Pete, and we have any lead magnets that people download, they are always stored in the free resources, so we get them into that backdoor community with, and they get access things there. But you're absolutely right. If I'm one type of customer, I can see one type of content. If I'm a different type of customer, I can see the other. So you're not either cross-selling or trying to either sell them something they've already got or offer them something they've already had the benefit free. So I think that's an awesome point of view. And I think that covers the features of it. And Lindsey,
Can I say my favorite?
Oh, sorry, of course you can, yeah. I was going to ask you about the culture at Infusionsoft for your contribution, but absolutely.
Well, I wanted to add, and it isn't one specific feature, it kind of ties into multiple pieces of the system, but my background is in sales, business development, and really looking at prospects and how I can more effectively speak with them. So in my experience on the front lines in a sales capacity, you know, it was always not so much fun to call people when you didn't know what they were interacting with or how eager they were to speak with you. So mine's a combination of the sales pipeline where you can identify what does your sales process look like and how are people moving through that, and you know, as a sales professional, how can you kind of help move them along in their buying process from knowing where they're at in the stage. But a component of that is lead scoring. So being able to identify when that next action should go based on what they've already interacted with. And really having that insight as a salesperson and being able to see what were the interactions, how many were there, and actually having a system that scores that for you, super impactful for a sales professional. So.
And that's also visual as well, Lindsey, isn't it? So for the audience listening, people say, you know, scoring them based on the interaction. So whether they did, you know, download your lead magnet, they did, you know, open an email. We have what flames technically inside Infusionsoft on a contact record that, you know, based on what they do, and you can make that hotter or colder based off the action. So one thing that we use in our sort of telesales team, Lindsey, is that if sometimes they've only got a telesales team of maybe got a short day, they've only got 4 hours to maybe do a really strong follow up because maybe they're doing additional lead gen. I've only got 4 hours, I've got maybe 200 people in my database. Do I just start blind? No, we're going to say, hey, let's run a report and let's give us a lead score report and give us everybody with 4 or 5 flames because we know that they're interacted. The minimum amount of time that the team's got to make those calls, if they may only maybe make 40 or 50 or 60 calls in that day, they can't reach all 200, well, doesn't it make a ton of sense, audience, that you're going to hit the most hot and you know, ready prospects who are engaged with your message. So, you know, just one sale a month will probably pay for the cost of investment through Infusionsoft and some. So these are some of the awesome tools, and thank you very much indeed for following up on that, Lindsey. That's a great point to get across.
Yeah, and another thing, just thinking from the business owner, I mean, I'm looking at it from a sales professional standpoint, so sitting in the seat, but from a business owner standpoint, it's really hard to find good sales talent. Yeah. So if you can arm them with the tools to do their job more effectively, and they see, I can walk into my desk every day and I have a plan, it's a lot easier to retain employees. So I look at Infusionsoft as not only an amazing sales and marketing and even just back-end process-oriented tool, but it's a retention of employees.
Yeah, and which is saving reinvesting, re-employing, retraining, and there's all sorts of things there as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
So just on that point, maybe, you know, as we're backing out of the show in the next sort of couple of minutes or so, guys, talk to us about the culture inside Infusionsoft and why it's different to maybe anywhere else you've worked.
Yeah. So a lot of people look at our culture, if you've ever had a chance to make it out to Arizona, you know, we have a football field in the middle of our building, we have a cereal bar, we have coffee and soft drinks and a theater and a game room, and that's not really our culture, to be honest. You know, it's fun and it's things that have been earned throughout really hard work in the company, but our culture comes down to the actual purpose, which is to help small businesses succeed. But we go even further than that, and we have 9 core values that we look at. And all of it is around, you know, what really is the right thing to do, just being a human and really connecting with people. Because at the end of the day, you might be doing B2C or B2B. We're doing B2B, but it's kind of B2C because we're just, and so we call it human to human. Yeah. You know, I think there's something about just recognizing that if you're doing the right thing and you're really establishing kind of just that framework as a company, and I can read through them for you if you want me to, but really having those core values set so that people, and we have them all, that's to me the most important thing in the building. Is not the soda machine, it's not the football field, it's not the cereal bar. We have our core values written throughout the building to remind us that we're not here to sell a software, we're not here to, you know, toss the football on the field. We're here to actually help entrepreneurs and small business owners, and I think you feel that in the air, you feel it, you know, in the bloodstream of everybody who's in that room. And when people actually come to our facility, they see it, they feel it, they get energized by it, and
It's real.
Yeah, it's real. So that's the culture.
But what we'll do, just to save on time, because we're going to go wrap here, we'll list the Infusionsoft core values in the resources, which you'll be able to get at blog.thesuccessof.uk. And just to go around the table, Marc, closing thoughts about why you just love Infusionsoft and why existing users can get more out of it, or why they should join the community.
I love Infusionsoft because it's a powerful engine that allows us to get the right information to the right people at the right time.
Lovely. Ashley?
I think I love Infusionsoft mainly around the fact that it has the ability to influence over time a prospect pool to become customers.
Brilliant. Pete?
Well, for me, I think a small business owner is thinking about getting Infusionsoft. Yes, what Marc and Ashley said is absolutely right, but it's a community. It's plugging into other business owners who want similar things and similar results.
And for me, before I pass and finish and close the show with Lindsey, we're all about business growth and performance and analytics, and having a system there that can, when I use the word railroad, I don't mean that in a negative statement, please don't misunderstand me, but you can put Infusionsoft in as a framework and a railroad to take a business and measure it through its growth curve and get accurate reporting on it, and it does sort of bond and get the accountability and the departmentals from finance, ops, sales, marketing, and all that sort of stuff pulled together. So I think it's that structure that I like, that I use it to, like the tracks to run the businesses on, I think is the point I'm going to make.
Makes sense.
And Lindsey, your sort of view on that?
Rephrase the question.
Yeah, sorry, what's your favourite part? If you were just to summarise it for the audience, your favourite part about Infusionsoft?
So my favorite part of Infusionsoft is, the technology is amazing. I got into it, and it's a long story because of business needs that I had, actually working in the enterprise world, but as a small division, just seeing the impact that it could have had. But to me, it's not just the software, it's not just the culture on a day-to-day basis, but what it is looking at the world as a whole. And I think that there's not really much excitement to say, hey, I'm going to go into corporate America and I'm going to work here forever and kind of give my soul to one person who made it, or one group of people who made it, but to really see the creativity that comes out of all the different entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurship is very tough. It's one of the hardest things that I think anyone could ever go through. And I think the one thing that makes me really excited about Infusionsoft and gets me up every day, even though I do work at a corporate organization, I work at one that understands that small business is critical to our economy, it's critical to us as human beings. But also, Infusionsoft could have at some point probably made the choice to say, hey, we could scale up to become an enterprise resource. And they made the decision to stick around with small business because they know how important it is for the global economy. And I think that commitment to small business is the one thing that I love. So.
Fantastic, I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So that sort of wraps up episode 7 of the Cast Hub. I hope you've enjoyed listening and sharing the ideas and values of some amazing talent we've got in the room. A big thank you to Marc P. Summers from Information Street for hosting us and giving us not only this time here in his facility, but also the quality time and support that you've given us all week, Marc. A massive thanks, and we'll get the Information Street Facebook page and website posted on the resources at the end of this show. So a big thank you, Marc, and hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Ashley, big thank you to yourself, and again we'll get the Jumpworks business and Facebook page posted on the resources. It's been a pleasure having you on, and thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much.
Pete, as always, phenomenal in the joke in between us. Thank you very much indeed. Good observational take, and we'll get all the McCanter Facebook page and website sort of posted in there.
Good job with the
and yeah, that was brilliant. And Lindsey, thanks again for not only hosting us this week, but giving us the inside track on what's happening in Infusionsoft. So that wraps episode 7 of the Cast Hub. We're going to see you next week. So go out and do some hustle, go and be an entrepreneur, and you can always get the resources at blog.thesuccesshub. And we're going to sign off here from beautiful Javea in Spain. Thank you very much and have a great week.
You have been listening to The Open Mic, brought to you by The Success Hub. To find out more and to get the resources we have mentioned in this podcast episode, simply visit blog.thesuccesshub.io and view the podcast section. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to catching up with you in our next episode.
This podcast and associated materials is published under copyright to The Success Hub. All rights reserved. No reproduction of this material is permitted.